So last time we learned that ER, IR, and UR all say the same thing. They all say as in Earl, early. Trying to think of words that start with You can also hear it in the middle, like bird, chirp. The same sound. IR, ER, UR, all the same sound. So we're going to go over these extra practice. I'll say them 2 times, so you can say them with me the second time. Number 1. I don't know if there's anybody new here. If there is, hang tight. This is extra practice for those who were here last time. We're going to get started with our new lesson in just a minute. Number 1, clerty. Clerty. Number 2 is blur pond. Blur pond. Number 3, Bethim Purdy. Bethim Purdy. Number 4, Fuller pen dump. Fuller pen dump. That's why these 2 E's say 2 different things because of the letters that come after them. If an R ever comes after a vowel, it's going to change the sound of that vowel. ER says Fuller pen dump. Number 5, Semplert. Semplert. Number 6, Jeopartim. Jeopartim. That G is going to make it soft sound because there is an E, I, or Y after it. G and C, right, in number 6 and number 9, they will make their soft sound if there is an E, I, or Y after it. That's why that G says J. Jeopartim. Number 7, Sturfendimp. Sturfendimp. Pay attention to that R. It changes the sound of the vowel before it. That's why that I and that I are 2 different sounds. This one is stir. This one is dimp. Sturfendimp. Number 8, Jiffischerm. Jiffischerm. Number 9, Citridderp. That's a hard one because of that R. You really have to force and control your mouth to make the sound of that R right after the T sound. Citridderp. Citridderp. And number 10, Letimerdipy. Letimerdipy. That one's a doozy. Letimerdipy. All right, let's go to today's lesson. So I accidentally put the same pictures up here as last time. So I'm gonna just mix it up for you instead of wrench. I'd like you to put how many sounds put in the chat, how many sounds in tool? How many sounds in tool? Drop it in the chat. Not thinking about letters. You probably know how to spell it. Just the sounds. The sounds is a lot harder. All right, good. So tool has 3 sounds. The voiceless T, T. That double O is saying the oo sound. Ooh. Good, Brittany. And the last sound, ul. Tool. T. Ooh. Ul. There are several ways to spell the oo sound. OO is the most common. Tool. Okay, so on this one, I wanted to do shield. How many sounds in shield? Just sounds, not letters. Take your time, this is not easy. Wait a minute. That's a lot of correct answers. That's a lot more than I was expecting. So shield, that SH is making a sound. Shh, one voiceless sound. Shh. That EI is saying E. E, sh, E, and then we have the O, and then the D. Sh, E, O, D. If you missed one, it was probably the L. EI says east as in field. And shield. Excellent. That's a lot of correct answers on that. Good job. Okay, on this last one, I want to do, I probably did this one last time, but I want to do it again. Knuckle. How many sounds in knuckle? There's a lot of silent letters in it if you know how to spell it. That's why I wanted to do the sounds, because it's a lot different than the actual number of letters in the word. Okay, so knuckle has 2 syllables. Actually it's knuck. Wait. That's a tricky one because the syllables, the division is kind of strange. But we're going to say knuck-ul are the 2 syllables. Knuck-ul are the 2 syllables. But if you break those syllables down into more phonemes, phonemes are the smallest units of sound. So even a big chunk of sound like a syllable is broken down into more smaller sounds. So knuckle has n, a, ul, 4 sounds. That KN at the beginning, we put in the chat here. This is called a silent letter pair. That KN at the beginning of knuckle, let me show you how to spell it. That KN is called a silent letter pair. You'll see KN at the beginning of like night or knife. It's kind of an old English letter pair that we brought in. The K is silent. So that first sound is N. And then we hear the which is making it short sound because the next 2 letters are consonants. That CK is making the K sound. And then the L is it's a consonant LE syllable, and the L is just making 1 sound, ul, and the E is silent. Tricky one, but you guys did great. Good job. Okay, let's come down to our new reading rule. So OR, usually I would say 90% of the time, is going to say or, as in the word or. It will come at the beginning of words like or what's another? Orca. Is that how you spell orca? I hope so. I'm a spelling teacher. What's another word that starts with oracle? Orange. So OR can come at the beginning of words. It can also come in the middle. Orchid. Thank you, Amy. Yes, if I spelled orca wrong, let me know. It can also come in the middle, like porn, born, Cole, thank you for saying that, has an AR in it, and that's a different sound. So I'm glad you said that, because the AR in R is made with your jaw really dropped. R. This is a round or. Here's the difference. R, or. So we are working on the OR sound. Yes, sword. So it can come at the end of words. It might come at the very end of a small word with a silent T at the end, but here's when OR doesn't say or. Yeah, it will say if it comes at the end of a longer word, like sailor. I'll have to think of another longer word with OR at the end, unless you can think of some. But when OR, this is not something we're going to work on today, but I just wanted you to be aware of it. OR will not say or when it's at the end of a longer word. Very, very end, last 2 letters. Yes, thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice this. So I'm going to mark my vowels here. Marking my OR Now I am on my home. I'm at home today with my home computer. So my usually pretty nice, I would say, mouse annotations are going to be even worse today. I'm kidding, they're always bad, but they're going to be even worse today because I'm working on a trackpad. So OR is going to say or. I'm just going to mark it this one time with the long sound, the macron over the O. That's going to be the sound that OR will make in every word in this lesson, because it's not going to come at the end of a longer word. Oh, rats, it did right there. I'll put an E at the end. And right here. Oh, I did put that in your I did put that in your lesson. At the end of multisyllable words, it can say So maybe I'll leave that. Anyway, so when we pencil read this word, we have a hard C, or, t, I, p. When you blend those sounds, we have core tip, core tip. Go ahead and try yours over here. I'll be quiet while you work. What might be tricky when you go to decode this word is an R or an L is going to try to get in right there. So be careful that you're controlling the shape of your mouth from the P to the OR. Don't let it go purr or pull. You're going to open straight up to that O sound. So when you pencil read this word, we have P, or, it, forfeit, forfeit, different than profit. Forfeit. That one's much harder to read because our mouth naturally wants to put that R in right after the P. Okay, number 2, let me mark mine. So this OR we know is our new reading hack for the day. It's going to say or. This O is going to say ah because the next 2 letters are consonants. When the next 2 letters are consonants, that means the vowel before that says it's short sound. We have a hard G, G, or, t, ah, p, gortomp, gortomp, gortomp. Go ahead and try yours over here. Make sure no N's come in. Be careful your tongue is not touching the top of your mouth when you make this word. When we sound it out, it's k, or, p, I, s. Because the I is going to make it short sound because the next 2 letters are consonants. OR says or. So we have k, or, p, I, s, t. Or pissed, or pissed. Okay. Now on number 3, we have a soft G because the next letter is an E. So that G is going to sound like a J. It's going to sound like J. This E is going to make its short sound because the next 2 letters are consonants. This I is going to make its short sound because. Don't you love how there's always a because? We're making reading into more of a math problem with rules that you can follow and depend on for the most part. So you might be thinking, why isn't that I saying I? Because the tap 2 rule says that if there's a vowel 1 or 2 doors down, it makes that I say its name. I's are rule breakers. When they're in the middle syllable, they make their short sound, I. So when they're middle syllable, meaning not just letters on both sides of it, but an actual syllable, it has to be at least a 3-syllable word. 3-syllable words or longer. Hospital, tall, family. If it's right in the middle and you can separate each other syllable, then the I says I. This A is going to say it's a sound because there's a vowel 1 or 2 doors down. And I'm going to say this the correct way. I'm not going to add an extra E on the end. This OR, when it comes at the end of a multisyllable word, is going to say er. I'm going to say that because I taught it right up here in that rule. So I'm giving myself permission to teach it to you. So when we pronounce this word, we have J, E, N, T, I, G. Those 2 G's say 2 different things because the letter that comes after it. This says J because of that E. This says G because of that A. J, E, N, T, I, G, A, T, Gentigator. Gentigator. Look at alligator. Yeah, alligator follows the rule. See that? OR at the end of a longer word says alligator. Okay, try yours. I'm also going to just warn you that that OR at the end says because it's at the end of a multisyllable word. Go ahead and mark it. How are you doing? Okay, so we have a p, e, s, t. That one might look familiar, right? You might notice the word pest in there. Est, there's that I because it's in the middle syllable. This E says because the next 2 letters are consonants. This I says I because I's always say I if they're in the middle syllable. This A will say A because one of the next 2 letters is another vowel. That's the tap 2 rule. And this OR says because it's at the end of a longer word. Est, I, A, T, I'm going to go one sound at a time. Pe, pes, pest, peste, pestif, pestife, pestifate, pestifator, pestifator. Now here's what's going on with that T. There's a difference between pestifator and what you might have said pestifator. Do you hear the difference in the T? Pestifator, pestifator. It's because the T, and it's okay, either one is fine, because that T can change to more of just a stop sound often in words. And so you don't have to pronounce that T as what I call a spit T. You spit it out, pestifator, to pronounce the word correctly. It is nice if that T is the final sound to go ahead and spit it out, such as first or pest. That's proper pronunciation. But if you find yourself pronouncing a T in the middle of a word more as kind of a D sound, it's okay because it's just a natural stop within the word. It's not an incorrect pronunciation. Doctor, you're going to hear that T, but let me see if there's any other. I'm looking in the chat here. Taylor, yeah, it'll come in the middle. Let me think. Like pretty. We don't say pretty. Oh, you look so pretty. I mean, if we went to England, maybe you look so pretty, but we usually just say pretty. That T is turning into more of a stop sound, a D sounding, and it's just fine. Either one is fine. Yeah, dirty. There's another one, dirty. We don't say dirty unless you're in London. Dirty, you're so dirty. I just got back from London, so I think I have an accent now, but that's beside the point. What's the word? Anyway, I digress. Dirty. We say dirty. So that's why we could say pestifator or pestifator. Either one is perfectly fine. Okay, number 4. Let's go ahead and mark our vowels. So this OR is going to say or. That's our reading hack for the day. This E is going to say because the next 2 letters are consonants. Y at the end of a multisyllable word usually says E. Sometimes I, like multiply and satisfy, usually E. I would say 80 to 85% of the time it's going to say E. So when we pencil read this word, we have P, or, S, N, E. Pay attention to this N. When you read it with me, make sure that tongue goes to the top of your mouth. So we have porcenti. Porcenti. When you just said that, did an L or an R come right after that P? Pay really close attention. Because it's going to want to naturally. It's going to be you're going to want to, your mouth is naturally going to want to say pro instead of poor. That's the more unnatural way to say a word. Poor is more unnatural than pro. So force your mouth to go from the P straight to the O sound. Porcenti. Senti. Same with that L. Don't let an L slip in there. Okay, number 4 on your side. Go ahead and mark it. Yay, Susan. Good job. Okay, so we have an OR in the beginning or middle of the word that says or. We have an E that's going to get short sound because. Don't you just love the word because now that you know that there's all these reading rules, there's reasons why these letters say what they do. So it will finally make sense to our brain. And it's not just a random jumbled mess of letters that really make no sense. Now, every letter or every grapheme has a job that you can figure out based on the letters that surround it. So OR is in the middle or the beginning, so it's going to say or. E is going to say because the next 2 letters are consonants. Y at the end usually says E. So when we read this word, we have S, or, E. Be careful you don't say P for that P. There's no it's just P. So when we blend that word, it's sortempi. Sortempi. Yeah, Vanessa? Yay, sortempi. Will everybody put in the chat? How did you do on these? I'd love to know. How are you doing? Okay. Good, good, good. Excellent. That's wonderful. Thank you for telling me. Okay, does anybody want to try any of these extra practice ones with me? Kind of going through it with you live.